evening, I'm Bruce Frisco. Todd Battis is off tonight. It is Tuesday, the 23rd of September, and this is CTV News. Tonight, decades of allegations. A former youth swimming instructor accused of sex crimes makes his first court appearance. Denied dignity. A scathing report says a psych facility restrained and isolated patients.
Not nearly enough rain in the showers moving through, but more wet weather is expected Thursday night into Friday.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Bruce Frisco.
Good evening. A Nova Scotia man at the center of a massive historical sexual assault case at a youth detention center made his first court appearance today. And we're getting a sense of the size and scope of the investigation. CTV's Callum Smith was also in court, and he joins us now with the latest from Kentville. Callum.
The Crown says there are more than 1 million pages of disclosure in this case. 75-year-old Donald Douglas Williams faces 66 charges, mostly for sexual assault and sexual exploitation. Dressed in a suit and tie, the ex-swimming instructor leaves the Kentville courthouse. He worked at the youth correctional facility known as Waterville. The charges span decades, starting in 1989, shortly after the facility opened, all the way to 2015, all while Williams was employed at the facility.
In terms of the magnitude of this case, this is a massive investigation, perhaps the largest, or if not one of the largest, sexual abuse investigations in this province's history.
The force announced the charges last week, saying they believe there are more than 300 young victims. But the 66 charges only pertain to 30 victims.
As you can expect, this investigation's been ongoing for 6 years, and some complainants have lost their desire to go forward.
He declined to say if the length of time it has taken to lay charges is fair to complainants, but reiterated this is a massive investigation.
We're talking, medical records, personnel records for the youth when they were in the institution, statements. Some documents from the 1980s and early 90s, for example, were written, like handwritten notes that had to be digitized and searchable. So this process took months and years to proceed with.
Williams did not have a lawyer Tuesday, but told the judge he applied for one through Nova Scotia Legal Aid. Last week, the Justice Minister declined speaking about the case, but said changes have been made at Waterville.
Practices have changed significantly over the course of that time.
Such as additional security cameras, units having at least 2 staff members at all times, body scanners to eliminate the need for visual body searches. The government also says there are 2 staff present when youth are participating in custody programming, or if not, it's in the presence of security cameras. RCMP have said more charges are expected against Williams in the coming months. He has yet to enter a plea and is due back in court October 21st. Callum Smith, CTV News, Kentville, Nova Scotia.
A psychiatric facility in New Brunswick is facing another scathing report tonight, focused on its use of seclusion rooms, restraints, and in some cases, a lack of human dignity. CTV's Laura Brown has some of the disturbing details and the calls for change.
Adam spent a total of 324 hours, including 12 consecutive days, in a room that looked like this. Called a seclusion room, it's a bare, locked space with a single bed, physical restraints, and no toilets or sinks at the Restigouche Hospital Centre. He urinated and defecated in cups, did not always receive meals or water, and at one point, staff pulled down his pants while he was restrained. He laid like that for 7 minutes in front of 6 staff. It was all caught on video surveillance. Adam isn't his real name, but his experience was very real, says Ombud Marie-France Pelletier.
And now we're going to be focused on making sure that their experiences actually lead to positive change in the system.
Adam was one of 12 patients who made complaints about their treatment at the hospital between 2021 and 2023. The hospital opened in 2015, meant to help those with severe mental illnesses and to provide forensic assessments. In its 10 years, it's been the subject of several investigations.
Left for such a long period of time with their own feces and urine. Why? Why?
The reason why, for me, in some ways, is irrelevant. It just should not have happened. There's no reason for that to happen. And so,
of course, but it has.
So ultimately, it's whether or not there was a reason for it, it doesn't make it right.
She recommends 21 changes, including updating policies around the use of restraints and potentially halting the use of spit hoods, as well providing patients stronger communication methods for inside these seclusion rooms and better hygiene services. Essentially, reviewing the entire system. There have been disciplinary measures taken in light of this investigation, including termination.
What I saw is a staff who want to do better, who want to do well, and but that need the support in being able to do that.
Vitalite Health Network, which operates the hospital, has accepted the recommendations and is offering its firm commitment to bring lasting change. The Ombudsman is committing to keeping decision makers accountable for that change. Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
6 young people have now been arrested in connection with an assault in St. John last month. You'll recall this was all captured on a security camera outside of a cafe in the city's uptown. A group of young people attacked a man before others got involved. Police say the youths ranged in age from 14 to 18. They cannot be identified under the Youth Criminal Justice Act, but they are facing multiple charges, including robbery and assault with a weapon. They'll appear in court at a later date. Federal government says it will begin buying back assault-style firearms from individual owners with a pilot project in Nova Scotia. The project will be open to eligible gun owners in select areas of Cape Breton. This is to ensure it runs smoothly before it's rolled out across the country. Since May of 2020, Ottawa has outlawed about 2,500 types of guns, arguing they're more suited for the battlefield, not for hunters or sport shooters. At least one gun control group, though, says the latest phase of the buyback will be a waste of money unless it includes a ban on the semi-automatic SKS rifle, which is not among the banned list. Power rates and a privacy breach dominating the first day back at the Nova Scotia legislature today. In fact, the power company was the focus of debate and the subject of newly proposed legislation tabled by all three parties. CTV's Jesse Thomas explains.
Sharp debate over electricity rates played out on day one of the Nova Scotia legislature, and so too was talk of the major privacy breach earlier this year that resulted in the personal and sensitive information of more than 140,000 Nova Scotia Power customers who had their social insurance numbers stolen in a cyber attack. In response, the governing PC party introduced the Social Insurance Number Protection Act to protect sensitive information.
Under this new act, the collection of SINs will be prohibited unless authorized by the regulations.
Government bodies will still be allowed to collect social insurance numbers for programs and businesses for income tax purposes, but strict rules around who can ask for it and how the info can be stored will be tabled. It was revealed in the privacy breach that Nova Scotia Power had SIN data of past and present customers, but this legislation doesn't force companies who hold SIN information right now to delete it.
If I was an entity, a private entity, I'd certainly be looking at my my collection and retention practices even without this legislation in place.
The NDP says this bill doesn't go far enough. They want victims of a data breach to be able to take action against the company and hold them accountable.
We still don't have an answer as to why Nova Scotia Power had everyone's social insurance numbers for years and sometimes decades.
The NDP put forward a bill that would give a one-time 10% rebate on power bills. The program would cost $140 million, said the NDP, who would need the PC's cooperation to get it passed.
Nova Scotians cannot continue to absorb higher and higher costs. This government is doing nothing about it. I'll ask the Premier again, will he lower people's costs by 10%?
Premier Houston said his $500 million tax cut, introduced already, saves Nova Scotians $1,000 on average per year, is having a bigger impact.
It supports more Nova Scotians than a $150 million one-off.
Houston didn't say if he would table legislation to hold power rates in check, but instead said,
when it comes to protecting Nova Scotians, everything's on the table.
Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
To St. John now, where the city is proceeding with a plan to establish zones where homeless encampments are and are not going to be allowed. Following some outcry from advocates, there have been a few changes made to the strategy since it was released a few weeks ago, and that might be just enough to gain support from a key player in the plan, at least for now. CTV's Nick Moore has the details.
We really had some good dialogue and discussion around ways that we could make that plan workable.
The plan being the Housing for All strategy in St. John, and specifically the aim to designate red, yellow, and green zones for where homeless encampments can and can't be built. A red zone would ban tenting at any time, but now the city has approved a revision which would relocate individuals currently in a red zone with a case-by-case approach. Fresh Start St. John Executive Director Melanie Vittor says the change has made the plan more flexible and focused on individual needs.
And we're comfortable with that. And at the end of the day, it's both of us listening to each other and then moving forward together.
Initially, Fresh Start said it would not participate in the strategy as presented earlier in September. Another change to the plan is a timeline for having no tents in a red zone. That goal has now switched from the end of October to mid-November. St. John Mayor Donna Reardon says Fresh Start and its outreach team will be a critical part of making the plan work.
They know the clientele, they know the needs, they know what they need. I mean, we're hoping to get maybe a mobile unit from the province that could go around to the different encampment sites. I mean, there's all sorts of things that are possibilities. It all costs money.
Another change to the plan is the opening of new transitional housing a month earlier than expected, which will provide 27 individual sleeping units. The first neighborly homes community in St. John opened in early August. Peter Smith is a resident and says the last few weeks have been life-changing.
Considering I went from a hopeless addict that had no direction in life to actually having a sense of purpose again.
You got to start with that hope and purpose, and that's the foundation that then you can now feel like, hey, I can put the work in now. It's going to actually amount to something, right?
If you lay the foundation for us to have that opportunity, now it's a matter of what I can do.
Right now, Fresh Start estimates there are more than 200 people in St. John who are regularly sleeping outside. Nick Moore, CTV News, St. John.
Here's a live look at Fredericton, where it's currently a very comfortable 20 degrees. Time for our first look at the weather, and for that we go to CTV meteorologist Kaylin Mitchell. Beautiful first day of fall, although I guess some people had a few showers.
Yeah, that's right. And there's still some showers that are going to be making their way through, but 20 degrees for a late September evening. It's a bit above average for this time of the year. Fredericton is one of the communities, and there's a couple of them around the region still holding on to 20 at this hour. Many other parts of the Maritimes are sitting with temperatures around the mid to high teens. Taking a look at the showers that Bruce was talking about, spotty showers are isolated coming into northern areas of New Brunswick. Still a chance of a shower for Prince Edward Island. There is a band of showers just making its way to the southwest of New Brunswick. It's developing over the Bay of Fundy coastline towards the Minas Basin, towards Cumberland, Colchester counties in Nova Scotia. That will be basically the most widespread area of showers moving into the west of Nova Scotia as we head through this evening and tonight. Still, any areas that do pick up a little bit of wet weather this evening and tonight, it's in most cases not going to be much, with rainfall amounts likely to range from trace up to around a few millimeters locally. Did want to end with an update on Hurricane Gabrielle. Been keeping track of this storm system. It continues to make its way towards the east. Very powerful storm, Category 4, maximum sustained winds near 215 kilometers per hour. On that eastward track towards the end of this week, it may come within the vicinity of the Azores, which is of course part of Portugal. They are no stranger to being impacted by these type of tropical weather systems off the Atlantic, be it hurricane, tropical storm, or post-tropical storm. The last time they were impacted, though, by still a hurricane was 2019, and that was Hurricane Lorenzo. A hurricane watch has been posted for the Azores. Bruce.
All right, thank you, sir. We'll check in with you for the full forecast in about 15 minutes' time or so. City of Fredericton has voted to expropriate the land that has been home to the New Brunswick Provincial Exhibition for more than a century. The 30-acre piece of land near the city's downtown is actually owned by the city, but it's leased to the NBX. The lease was supposed to expire in 2031, but the city has voted to buy it out instead, citing the need for land to build more housing and a new school to replace George Street Middle School. Only one councillor voted against all of this.
I'm predicting one of two things are about to happen. We will either destroy the NBX with this move, or we'll end up in an expensive court battle with them, or most likely both. The current plan established back in 2021 by both council and NBX
The
board,
executive director of the NBX says the organization is disheartened by the unexpected decision, but doesn't feel the conversation is completely over. They've been working with the city on adding a school to the land while keeping agricultural traditions alive.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Now to a case of better late than never. It was officially the first day back to class for students at Dalhousie University today after that 3-week delay because of the faculty lockout. Students are grateful to be back to their routines, but as CTV's Emma Convey tells us tonight, there are some changes to get used to.
A busy day back on campus at Dalhousie University as students hustle from class to class on their first official day.
Today we're here because we have to find where my class is for tomorrow.
I'm really excited because I have some courses that are really good for my future.
This is actually my first time at Dalhousie because I transferred in from another school, so it's great to be back, or not back, it's great to see what's going on, and I'm excited to meet all my new professors and my new classmates.
Despite the excitement to return to the classroom after a month-long lockout, students are now worried about the workload for this condensed semester.
I think they're doing everything they can to squeeze in what we need. It might be a little bit more intense for at least a couple weeks, but I mean, just want to get it done.
I was always worried about my courses because fourth-year courses are tough.
The university has added an extra week to the end of the fall semester. The full list of important academic dates has also been shared with students.
I think there's a lot of relief. I also think generally it seems like folks are comfortable with it being extended another week because they acknowledge that it means another week of learning. But really it is just people know how to make plans now.
When it comes to tuition, the university has extended the payment deadline to October 7th, but the student union still feels compensation is needed.
Dal did release a statement that said that they are not considering tuition refunds in a significant way. We're happy that now there's another week of learning added on, but that means that we still want that tuition reduction and refund for those 2 weeks.
For many students today, their focus is getting used to their new schedules.
It's nice to finally get kind of back in it, especially in a professional master's program. Doing that and getting back on track is really exciting.
No one from Dalhousie University was made available for an on-camera interview today, but said in a statement to CTV News after their Senate met yesterday, it was decided that the fall break will remain unchanged, and the final day of classes for courses that were suspended during the labor disruption will now be December 10th. Bruce.
Okay, thank you, Emma. CTV's Emma Convey reporting from Dalhousie's campus tonight. Halifax Council has voted to proceed with bylaw changes to protect Dartmouth Cove, but it sets the stage for a public hearing and a decision that could shape the area for years to come. Here's CTV's Hafsa Arif with details and reaction.
It's a place where the city slows down, where neighbors walk, and wildlife thrives. But this quiet trail is at the center of one of council's loudest debates.
Should we proceed with the bylaw, there will be a legal challenge that could be quite lengthy and costly.
Despite concerns like this, Halifax Council rejected a staff recommendation to wait and instead voted to move ahead with bylaw changes that would limit most infilling here.
We really need to do a comprehensive plan. I don't want to prejudge what that plan's going to say.
Austin insists the community plan should shape the waterfront.
If we defer making any changes, we potentially just allow any number of property owners to infill their lots and dictate what the plan for the waterfront will be.
But the company behind the proposed infilling sees it differently, calling council's move a misstep.
Has decided to pass a bylaw which they've got no authority to enact. The federal harbor is managed by two departments. It's the Department of Transport and the Department of Fisheries.
And even city staff have advised council of this. Still, they won't budge. Today's decision, Woods says, is unsettling for any property owner in the city.
HRM has just shown that they will pass bylaws to effectively take away the property rights of private property owners.
For community members, council's move is a win.
This place is so special.
for people and also for wildlife, and it's such a treasure here.
So I would be essentially trapped in my apartment. Like, the construction would block this trail entirely.
Others question the city's transparency through this.
The residents aren't getting very many answers from anybody on how this fits in with the development downtown Dartmouth.
Council's decision now heads to the next chapter in a fight over what Dartmouth Cove should be, giving the public a chance to weigh in before council decides the bylaw. Hafsa Arif, CTV News, Dartmouth.
Thank you, Hafsa. Still ahead tonight, a few more showers expected in the region tonight. We can certainly use them. Kalen will return with his full forecast. Coming up next, though, details and analysis as Donald Trump takes on the United Nations.
A stern and combative speech from President Trump here at the UN General Assembly. I'm Rena Roy, and I'll have the highlights coming up.
U.S. President Donald Trump today speaking to more than 150 world leaders at the United Nations General Assembly. He talked about America and himself, and he promised to broker peace deals overseas. He also took jabs at the United Nations itself, accusing it of not living up to its promise. ABC's Rena Roy has details.
President Trump center stage before the world today, addressing the United Nations General Assembly. At times, the president stern and combative, even attacking the UN and doubling down on his immigration policy, highlighting his administration's mass deportation efforts.
If you come illegally into the United States, you're going to jail or you're going back to where you came from, or perhaps even further.
Trump claiming what he calls uncontrolled migration crisis, saying it's ruining European countries.
I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
He also took jabs at the very body he was speaking to, accusing the UN of not living up to its promise.
All they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war.
But later, telling the UN Secretary General that the U.S. stands behind the organization.
I may disagree with it sometimes, but I am so behind it because I think the potential for peace with this institution is so great.
Trump painting himself as the peacemaker, calling to end the wars in Gaza and Ukraine, also calling for hostages to be released in Gaza, but saying he opposes recognizing a Palestinian state.
The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities.
Between Russia and Ukraine, Trump again threatening additional sanctions to pressure Putin to end the war and urged European leaders to do the same. The president encouraged world leaders to reject policies geared towards fighting climate change, falsely claiming, quote, it is the greatest con job ever. The president's claims in stark contrast to well-known climate assessments. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Okay, joining us now with his take on U.S. President Donald Trump's appearance at the United Nations today, CTV News political analyst Eric Ham, who we've reached in Washington. Thanks for doing this, Eric.
It's good to be with you.
Much anticipated speech by Trump at the UN today, the president covering a lot of ground. Your overall reaction first.
Well, I don't think it should be any surprise to many in terms of the tone that we saw from the president. This was a speech that was extremely confrontational. It also made clear that not only is MAGA America first, but it makes clear that the United States is willing and does stand alone on many of the global issues. This was a speech where the president, again, continued to double down on grievances, not only domestically, but against the rest of the world. And I think today, the world took notice of not only where the president stands, but more importantly, where he's taking the country.
So Canada, of course, joined the United Kingdom, Australia, and Portugal on Sunday in recognizing a Palestinian independent state. What was Trump's response to that?
Again, I think what we saw was the president blasting that decision on the world stage. And I think what we're going to continue to see is how isolating the United States is rapidly becoming. We have to remember the United States has been an instrumental figure in establishing many of the global multilateral organizations and entities that have served as a bulwark and champion for justice, for democracy, and for inclusivity around the world. And what we're seeing from President Donald Trump right now is not only the U.S. walking away from those ideas, from that ethos, but also attempting to tear down those structures as he walks away.
Did he mention Canada in any other respect? Did we come up at all any other time?
Well, no, but I think when Canada certainly is grouped in when the president is talking about the West, and when he says things like your country is going to hell, clearly he was, I think, also taking a stab at Canada with many other Western nations and U.S. allies, as well as when he talks about the issue of climate change, which we know Canada certainly, like many others, believes is in fact real and is having a significant impact on the global stage. And so what we're seeing from the president when he says things like this is the biggest con job in history, he's looking at many of the nations that the United States has worked with and has seen as allies and has called friends over these many decades.
Yeah, I mean, he described the UN as a place full of empty words, and empty words don't solve wars.
That's right. And again, we saw the president take a direct shot at the United Nations, that stage that he was on. And when you look at what we saw and heard from this president, this is typically what you think and what you expect to see from nations that are isolated. You're not going to expect to see people like Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela on the stage at the UN General Assembly, or Vladimir Putin of Russia, or Kim Jong-un of North Korea. But they have also made clear where they stand when they look at agencies, organizations like the UN and the work that they do. And today we saw the president speaking in deeply vitriolic terms about the United Nations, which also begs the question, where does the UN go from here? And what does it mean when you have the United States that now, under this president and this White House, is looking at these organizations, these entities, not as a friend, not as an ally, but more importantly, as an enemy or as an obstructionist in terms of what the United States wants to do and where it wants to go. And what does that mean, particularly about the relationship between the United States and Canada?
A lot to think about for sure. Eric, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
You bet. Absolutely. Thank you.
CTV News political analyst Eric Ham joining us tonight from Washington. Stay with us. Lots more to come on the other side of the break.
Start your morning with us for what you need to start your day. News, weather, and even a little fun. Your Morning Atlantic with Amanda Devison, Crystal Garrett, and Latavia Beezer. Weekdays from 6 to 9 on CTV2 and CTVAtlantic.ca.
Just a few clouds over downtown Sydney in this shot taken this morning on this first full day of fall. Isn't that relaxing right there?
That is a beautiful shot. Beautiful community here in the Maritimes. May still see a shower drift through Cape Breton, Sydney area as we make our way through tonight, though it's a bit of a lower chance, probably around like a 30 or 40% chance, and any showers do make an appearance there. Probably going to be on the lighter side, as they will be for many parts of the region. We do have...
Yep, it's a shame, I'll tell you.
It is, but we do have another round of some wet weather coming in later this week, Thursday night and Friday. That one, Bruce, looking a little bit more substantial. So hopefully we pick up some much needed millimeters of rain out of that. Let's take a look at what's going on quickly across the country. We'll go back to our weather forecast here in the Maritimes. Boy, there's a lot of warmth out west still. Taking a look at temperatures right now through parts of the prairies. We've got sunshine, 27 degrees at Calgary at the moment. Saskatoon sitting at 27. Regina at 25. Bit of a ridge in the jet stream is built up through parts of the prairies. Even some mild temperatures pushing up towards Yellowknife, sitting at 13 degrees. Iqaluit, though, is cooler, sitting at 7 right now with a mix of sun and cloud. In southern Ontario, it's 24 degrees at Windsor and Toronto. Low 20s, Ottawa up through Montreal and Quebec City. Fredericton, Halifax at 20 right now, 17 at Charlottetown, and 15 degrees at St. John's. So still a few showers to move through parts of the Maritimes tonight. Not everybody will see one of these showers. It's a couple spotty showers, northern areas of New Brunswick. Low chance of some showers, Prince Edward Island and Cape Breton. But a band of some showers expected across Nova Scotia between now and about midnight. Now that area area of showers moves off towards the east during the overnight. We'll have partly cloudy conditions and fog patches, but it is high pressure returning for Wednesday, so the cloud cover and the fog tomorrow will be dissipating and clearing, respectively, as we move from the morning into the afternoon. And even any remaining cloud cover around the region will continue to clear up as we head into Wednesday evening and Wednesday night. Winds in the forecast for tomorrow out of the north and northeast. Breezy for most areas with some gusts, between around 20, 30 kilometers per hour. Might be a little bit more blustery around parts of the eastern coastline of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, coastal areas of the north shore of Nova Scotia and Cape Breton. Potential there for some gusts, 30 to 50. Lows in the forecast for tonight for most of the region will be falling into the low to mid-teens. Mild for late September. It will be a little bit cooler through northern areas of New Brunswick there. Temperatures falling into a range of around 6 to 10 degrees. And in the north of New Brunswick for tomorrow, high temperatures between 17 and 20. And central and southern areas of New Brunswick with high temperatures mostly in the high teens and low 20s, including 21, Fredericton and St. John, and 18 degrees for Moncton. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow, in that north and northeast wind. Temperatures held a little bit cooler, 16, 17 degrees for most communities, including 17 at Summerside and Charlottetown. We're also looking at mid to high teens for Cape Breton and high teens for the north shore of mainland Nova Scotia and the eastern shore. Northern and central areas of Nova Scotia with high temperatures tomorrow, mostly between 18 and 20 degrees. In the Annapolis Valley, high temperatures will be around 20. And for the south shore of Nova Scotia, this might be one of the milder spots in the region on Wednesday, sheltered a little bit more to that slightly cooler northeast wind, so Shelburne, Liverpool could get up to around 22. Taking a look at the 7-day outlook for New Brunswick. Next round of rain coming in Thursday night. May finish as some showers on Friday. After that, it's a mix of sun and cloud in the weekend forecast, and temperatures above average for late September all the way through into the start of next week. National Truth and Reconciliation Day, of course, coming up next Tuesday. Looks a little bit cooler for that. For Nova Scotia in the forecast, looking at Thursday night into Friday for rain and showers. After that, a mix of sun and cloud in the forecast for Saturday and Sunday. Mostly sunny conditions in the forecast for Monday. High temperatures in low 20s, but then cooling down towards the mid-teens for Tuesday. And for Prince Edward Island in the forecast, rain and showers coming in Thursday night into Friday. Following that, it's a mix of sun and cloud through the weekend. High temperatures, high teens, low 20s, and looking pretty fair through the first part of next week. That rain on Friday, Bruce, higher potential, maybe 5 to 15 millimeters, more widespread for the Maritimes. If we get lucky, some pockets, maybe 20 to 40 millimeter rain.
We'll take every drop right now, won't we? Yeah, for sure. All right, thank you, sir. Wake up weather still to come tonight. Coming up next, we'll chat with a maritime obstetrician and gynecologist about the sudden controversy surrounding Tylenol and pregnancy. We'll be right back.
Okay, chance to win $5,000 daily with Virgin Radio's 5K a day coming tomorrow.
Get your first keyword with us at 7 a.m.
And get a shot at a 3-month membership to Orange Theory. Good luck.
Lots of talk since yesterday, since claims by the U.S. administration, including the president, about the impact of over-the-counter medications like Tylenol, which are, of course, often prescribed to pregnant women by their doctors. These claims are circulating widely, to say the least, and they have a lot of people worried, including those in the medical profession. Dr. Robin McQuarrie is an obstetrician and gynecologist whose practice is in Bridgewater, but we've reached her in Halifax today, and we want to thank her for speaking with us. What would you think, what went through your mind when you heard this announcement yesterday from Washington?
I think most of us were prepared that we knew there was a forthcoming announcement, and we had an idea. There'd been sort of, you could read the lay of the land that this was going to be coming out. I think they had sort of signaled enough in advance that a lot of the professional associations had the opportunity to prepare their responses, which I think is helpful at this time, because we actually we're not getting a gap of information. We know that all the professional organizations have come out and said there's absolutely no new research. There's nothing in the scientific world that has triggered an announcement of this sort.
So no one has said, oh, you know, we've got this new study where we've learned that acetaminophen causes autism.
Exactly. That has just not happened. There's no, when I saw the announcement, I thought, oh, I better do a little lit review, especially knowing I was going to be joining you. There's just no new research. And typically, when you see something that is so pivotal in changing the routine health care of pregnant people, you would expect there to be some sort of research around it. And it's literally not based on research.
What are you hearing from your colleagues? What are they saying about it?
Again, I feel like the biggest thing everybody's trying to do right now is to prepare themselves to answer their patients' questions. So we're just sort of, reviewing the literature, making sure there's nothing that we're missing out on, looking at our professional organizations. So in Canada, the SOGC has come out with a statement. The American College has come out with a statement. So it's really nice to see all these organizations being consistent with their messaging. Because it's really hard to counter something like, you would think if the President of the United States was making an announcement, it's not typical that we hear about women's health really at all in the news, and certainly coming from the, the White House is shocking. You would expect it would be groundbreaking research to provoke such a response.
And of course, it's not just the medical community. Parents of autistic children also speaking out. They're all outraged as well.
Absolutely. I think a lot of the outrage in that realm, I'm not the parent of an autistic child, but I do certainly, I have many friends whose children have autism, and the way in which autism was characterized, especially in the announcement made by Trump, was appalling. And the autism community, I think rightly so, is up in arms.
Okay, so how do you counter these kinds of claims, especially in this age of social media?
So I know my patients are going to be online. I try to arm them with good resources. And so there's TikTok pages I'll direct them to. There is, Instagram accounts that I direct them to where I know they can get good information. That is how our messages are delivered these days. A segment this long is too much information for some people. And so really what we're doing is trying to get that information out there, and people who are really savvy, who have the talents to use social media. Certainly we're making available to all of our patients the recommendations from our professional organizations. And we're having conversations about, this is a bit of a passion subject for me, so I've long had conversations about this, but really this is another example, if you think of it, of pregnant people being left out of the research literature. And when you're left out of research, then it all maybe just ends up being a bit of conjecture in terms of the health advice. So this isn't based on a study. There's no new information that's concerning. I heard a really good analogy today. Somebody said, it's kind of like, the causation correlation fallacy we so often see when people are sort of pushing something that's not evidenced is, all people have drunk water. All people who die have drank water in their life.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean drinking water is lethal.
Causes death, yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just in the 30 seconds we have left, what do you think these claims will do to the mindset of pregnant women? What advice do you have for pregnant women as far as Tylenol is concerned?
My advice has not changed one iota today in terms of how I would advise my patients. The concept, we heard the president say, quote, tough it out. That's not an approach. Fever is not something to be messed around with in pregnancy. Fever has potential harms to the fetus, increased risk of miscarriage. There's a lot of information that we know about the risk of fever. The idea of toughing it out, if you can, is simple. And once again, I basically commiserate with my patients that it's unfortunate that we have to provide healthcare in this day and age with such paucity of data for pregnant people. And now we're using not the best evidence, sort of retrospective trials where there's a reporting bias, really flawed science to make these sweeping recommendations, which is shocking.
Doctor, we're going to have to leave it there. I want to thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Dr. Robin McQuarrie is an obstetrician and gynecologist whose practice is in Bridgewater, but we reached her in Halifax tonight. Stay with us. We'll be right back. In the Lifeline tonight, how regularly inhaling cannabis can increase your risk of asthma, I should say. CTV's Amanda Devison has more in the Lifeline.
New research suggests smoking or vaping cannabis products regularly may put users at a greater risk of developing asthma. The study by University of California, San Francisco connected the inhalation of cannabis on a daily basis with a 44% increase in the chance of developing asthma. Researchers also say that inhaling marijuana every day also amplified the risk of developing COPD by 27%. In fact, they say that risk may be understated since it takes the condition decades to develop, and researchers didn't have detailed information around how long study participants had been using the drug. The study was published in the Journal of General Internal Medicine. Finally, a group of academics and activists are pushing the benefits of talking to strangers. They say even brief social interactions helps our mental health and mood and our feelings of connection. Canadian Gillian Sandstrom, an associate professor of psychology at England's University of Sussex, has found that chats with strangers make you feel woven into the fabric of your neighborhood, your community, or your school. Those kinds of benefits are behind a national campaign by the Toronto-based group Genwell that plans to stage the first Talk to a Stranger Week in late November. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Devison for The Lifeline.
Thank you, Amanda. We'll step aside tonight with a look at the primetime lineup.
With Crash and Sarah Betts.
Hey, tomorrow we fear there may be no original experiences, but we'll try to find one.
Absolutely, let us know. Plus, we'll give away a $20,000 prize with Move Dream Big.
Okay, so before we continue, we'll head outside to Kaylin on the weather deck. I'm amazed how much light we're losing each and every day now.
Yeah, well, that is certainly the case. But additionally, out here in the north end of Halifax, some cloud cover has moved in. It's not showering yet, but I do expect that there will be a few showers moving through as we go through this evening. Let's take a look at a viewer picture for tonight. This is fitting as we're now, officially getting the fall season started. Nice one here. This is sent in by Kathleen Hamey. Came in from Sydney Mines, Nova Scotia. The dog is Caper. Great name for a dog for the Sydney Mines area, Cape Breton, and love the fall scene here. So I want to thank Kathleen very much for that. Sydney Mines for tomorrow, clearing to a mix of sun and cloud by the afternoon, a little bit cooler, 16 degrees. Day planner for tomorrow, starting off the day, partly cloudy skies, some patchy fog, most morning temperatures in the low teens, and then moving into the afternoon, the sun starts to shine through across much of the Maritimes, and most of the high temperatures coming up into the high teens and low 20s. Let's find out what's coming up tomorrow on Your Morning Atlantic.
Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic, the road to 2026.
The Home Hardware Canadian Curling pre-trials are coming to Wolfville for the very first time next month. We'll get all the exciting details.
Start your morning with us Wednesday on CTV2.
Finally tonight, a celebration fit for a king in Bangor, Maine. Stephen King, that is.
Maine is usually known for blueberries and lobster, but I'd love being known for Stephen King more than anything.
No, this is not a scene from a horror movie. This is downtown Bangor, which was celebrating the author's 78th birthday over the weekend. Columbia Street turned into a creepy carnival, terrifying guests, all kinds of tributes to King's work. Stephen King, of course, has based much of his work on his home state and his home city of Bangor. Attendees could not be more thrilled about the representation and the reputation. That is the program for this Tuesday night. The rebroadcast shall begin in just a moment over on CTV2. And, of course, CTVNewsAtlantic.ca updates right around the clock. I'm Bruce Frisco in for Todd Battis tonight. I will be back with your next newscast at 11:30. Thank you for watching this one. Have a good night. We hope to see you again soon.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast.